I guess I could say like how did you had to actually obviously excuse me start in law school and then you have to do like an internship. So what was like the first law practice that you worked at that got you your experience in the legal field?
Yeah, so you actually don't have to have an internship. You just go to law school, and then once you
Oh,
pass the bar, you can just go practice. It's crazy. But when I first became licensed, I worked at a small firm based out of West Covina called the Coimbra Law Firm.
mhm.
And I worked there for 6 months after passing the bar, and then I started my own firm.
Okay. Now I heard you say in the interview I was listening to like your family. You came from a family of pretty much people that were in law enforcement. Did that kind of mold your decision as well as being a lawyer because you were around that so much?
Yeah, I think that kind of helped, for me to form an interest in the judicial system and criminal law, because I was just always around it. But I think about that sometimes. Would I have become a lawyer if I didn't come from a family of law enforcement? And I think I probably would have.
Nice. Now you're in criminal law. Talk about that. Talk about the journey in getting into criminal law and why you chose that over the other fields within law.
Yeah, so I dabbled a little bit in like entertainment law and business law in law school. But ultimately what did it for me was I volunteered with Project for the Innocent, which is a clinic at Loyola Law School. They work on cases of wrongful conviction. So people that have been wrongfully convicted and are innocent and behind bars. And that was just so fulfilling. My case, the case that they assigned to me just randomly, we actually ended up exonerating him. He had life with parole, if I'm not mistaken, but he had been down 20 years and he was completely innocent. And so we ended up exonerating him, and it just was so fulfilling. That really was what did it for me. I just always was really interested in criminal law, but that was definitely the deciding factor there.
Absolutely. Now, there's been a number of high-profile case in that area. One particular, the Nipsey Hussle. I don't seen a few articles. I don't know if they're true that you were representing somebody in that case. Is that true?
That's true. Yeah. There was a gentleman that was shot alongside Nipsey, and his name is Kerry Lathan. And the issue with that was he was a parolee. And so when all of the Nipsey stuff happened, they actually arrested him, and he had pending charges for a parole violation for being around a known gang member, which that member was Nipsey. And so he was, facing a parole violation essentially.
Okay. Do you with that particular case, so you just handled it for that, so you're not like defending him, but he's done pretty much at this point, right?
It got dismissed. Yeah.
Okay. Now the case, looking from an attorney's point of view, Nipsey Hussle's case, how do you see the outcome happen in just a few months, if you're at liberty to even talk about it?
Yeah. So since it's not my case, there's no like attorney-client relationship with
Right.
the gentleman who is, going to potentially go to trial on that. And also, because it's not my case, I don't have like the discovery. I have really no idea like what the legal issues are or anything like that. I know what y'all know, whatever is public information. So I'm not sure. I just have a gut feeling, not even like from being an attorney, but I just have a gut feeling that he's going to end up pleading out instead of going to trial.
Now, we talked about it numerous times on this platform. Obviously, within the year and some change now since Nipsey's passing, camera angles were something we spoke about a lot, and having confidence in those camera angles that we see. In your expertise, just for the people that speculate whether that's enough or not to convict the alleged criminal, the alleged man at this time, is that enough? Or should we be worried that that's not enough based off of what we see just out here on the internet and various platforms?
You're asking, is the surveillance footage enough?
Yes.
I mean, I've seen and heard about people getting convicted on way less. Some of the wrongful convictions that I've done, it's like, how did you get convicted off this? So I mean, yeah, but it's my understanding that it's more than just, I'm sure they have more than just surveillance. There's probably statements. there's probably other things that will be brought in as far as evidence. So I don't think that might be like their main evidence, you know, their most valuable evidence, but I'm sure that there's more than that.
Correct. Another case that happened, or I should ask you about this, the inequality in the justice system. Would you say, you know, being a criminal attorney, that, you know, is disproportionate, you know, Black and Latinos, you know, get convicted more than their white counterparts, being as though you work in the system? How do you feel about that?
Oh, absolutely. And, you know, it starts even before that. It's that minorities are arrested more and investigated more. You know, if I'm driving down the street, you know, and I commit a traffic violation, it's less likely that the police are going to order me out of my vehicle and want to search than if one of you guys were driving and committing a traffic offense. So that's just, you know, unfortunately, it's just how it is, and I see it every day. It's awful, you know.
How would you say the relationship? I mean, obviously, we know the relationship isn't what it needs to be between the police and the people in the community that are being charged wrongfully, the people of color, Black and Latinos. How would you say the relationship is now between the police and people in these communities?
There's just, especially out here in LA, there's very little trust.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It's the community doesn't trust police. You know, they're just like any other profession. There are good cops. There are cops who don't see color, and there are cops that are fair. But unfortunately, there are also bad cops, and they're in such a position of authority that kind of blankets anything that's good or unbiased, you know.
Right. The Tekashi 6ix9ine case, I'll talk to you a little bit about that. I don't know how much you've been following that, but it seems like I've seen that, you know, we actually sat through a trial of another rapper in Philadelphia. It was a federal trial similar to that. It was drugs involved, murders, hits on people, but for cooperating, it seemed like he got, you know, he got out very fast. Would you say that has something to do with the race as well? That a Black man, you know, could pretty much, you know, do the same thing, but on the other side of the country, an Hispanic man who looks more so white, you know, to the naked eye, he got off because he was able to cooperate. Is there any correlation with that at all, would you say?
You know, I think that more than likely in that particular case, it's having more to do with the facts of the case and what he was able to provide in his cooperation.
Okay.
I don't think that a sentencing judge is going to allow color to override like those other federal factors that come into federal cases when you know, when people end up cooperating. So, right. I mean, of course, in some cases that's going to play a factor, unfortunately. You know, we still have a lot of really old judges on the bench, especially in federal courts, but there are just so many other factors and things involved with federal cases and federal sentencing that I think that if it was an issue, it would have been a small issue.
A trial, it seemed like to us, just sitting in there in the trial, that the judge was more partial to the prosecution when we were sitting in this one trial. And it seemed like, you know, anything the defense, they were very good. Anything they tried to put forward, they didn't let them get certain things in on the record. So have you ever had that experience yourself where he's like, you know, it looked like the judge is on the prosecution's team here?
Absolutely. Oh, yeah, absolutely. And, you know, it's really interesting. You can actually look up and see, you know, before this person became a judge, did they work for the DA's office or were they defense? And a lot of times that will play a role into their decision making and their understanding of the legal issues that are presented to them. Because I've had judges who have a history of, you know, their background is criminal defense, and they're a lot more fair, and vice versa. You know, I've had some judges that are just complete. It's like, why am I even here? You don't even listen to what I have to say or grant anything. And then I look up and I'm like, oh, of course, you know, they were a DA their whole life.
Right. Marijuana. I'll let you go one second. In marijuana, you're in LA County. Do you see now that it's been legalized there, that arrests, because, you know, have went down with Black and Latinos, or is there any correlation with that? Because I know a lot of the times getting pulled over, we know once they get that sending marijuana in your car now gives them grounds to go and want to search other things. And, you know, some guys like to smoke, women or whatever like to smoke. Has it went down any in that county since marijuana has been legalized, or is it still about the same?
Yeah, marijuana related arrests, like I rarely see them unless they have like pounds. You know what I mean? But like you said, for the most part, the way that marijuana factors into these cases is it's used for a reason for probable cause to conduct a search, where then like a firearm is found, or, you know, other illicit substances. So I'm seeing it more of like, oh, I smelled marijuana and that's what legally allows me to get into the car for a search.
Right.
Got you. I want to transition to COVID-19. I was watching one of your posts, and you were kind of speaking on certain inmates getting out as opposed to other inmates getting out. Can you elaborate a little more on that and expound upon what you were saying in regards to why certain inmates get out over others?
Yeah, so really what it has to do with is these people that are being released early, it's mainly because the governor ordered the CDCR, the Department of Corrections, to release specific individuals, like if you have 60 days or less remaining on a sentence for something that's nonviolent, you know, they're getting booted out more quickly than having to sit and wait for the remaining 60 days or a few weeks or whatever on their sentence. But there's not, what a lot of people don't understand is these early releases, there's no like new law that allows us to say, hey, there's this many days left on this person's sentence, and because of COVID, they should be released. There's still the law that lays out when the time frame that you can be resentenced.